I'm here with Billy Campbell, star of upcoming Showcase series and one of the most highly anticipated series of the new year, Helix. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
So, we've seen very little about what's going on in this world. What are you able to share about what's in store for us?
Well, you've seen the pilot.
I have not seen the pilot yet.
Okay. I think what you're in store for, I know what you're in store for, is kind of a science fiction slash horror slash thrill ride in which the future of all of humanity is at stake.
Oh, wow. I do know that there is a brother element to it, and that's partially what brings you to the Arctic, is it not?
Yes. Okay. There are sort of interpersonal dynamics as well as the dynamic between, a team of disease control scientists and the disease. So, yes, my brother's up there. He's infected. He's one of the first 3 infectees at the base, and so that makes for higher stakes.
I'm also thinking the stakes are much higher being in such an isolated locale. There's really not many places for you to run.
No, we're there, and there's no way out, essentially. So it's you're right. The stakes are higher as a result. Sort of everything's increased. The urgency of the situation, if you can imagine being trapped with so many people in a small place, it's a pretty intense situation.
I was at the sets back in the fall, and you really get a sense, like you walk in there and it almost feels like you've entered this other world. Did you find that kind of helped get you into that mode? Because really, you're not in the middle of nowhere, but they've really done I thought they did an excellent job of making it look like you're in the middle of nowhere.
They really did, and the sets and all of that contributed greatly to to that atmosphere. It's you're right on the money there.
You've always been known for playing some really exciting roles. What was it about this one that really, really spoke to you? Because it's a bit different from what you've been more recently known for.
Well, I mean, I love the notion of I love science fiction to begin with. I love the notion of working for Ronald Moore and of working in Canada. I mean, there were a bunch of things going for it. I love the notion of being an employed actor, so that was not the least of it. Yeah, it was a whole bunch of good stuff in one thing.
And how much are we going to get into play? Is it going to be basically like the people working together against this disease, or are we going to really get a good look at the human relationships within everything as well? Like
I would say both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both. It's a sort of a great mix of these this sort of as I said, interpersonal dynamics and the dynamic of a team of scientists racing the clock to prevent what might be a catastrophic consequence of this viral outbreak.
What are you most excited for the viewers to see? Is there anything in specific, perhaps related to the pilot, that you think is really going to draw everyone in? I mean, the promos alone are chilling, like they're bone chilling.
Yeah.
So, is there anything that you could tease early on that you think people?
Well, I love it was early on in the shooting. It was during the pilot when I got really excited for the first time, and that was when I saw Neil Napier, who plays my brother. When I saw Neil in his full-on infection makeup, and I ate lunch with him. In fact, I sat across the table from him, and he was sweaty, and his veins were standing out, and his eyes were bloodshot, and he had a little black mucus dripping out of his nose, his mouth. and his hair was matted and sweaty, and he just looked feverish. He looked like he was dripping with germs, like he was dripping germs onto the table.
Mm-hmm.
And I suddenly thought, wow, this is so much scarier than, if I'd been sitting on the set, eating lunch on the set of The Walking Dead, and a zombie had been sitting across from me, with half a head or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's kind of gross, but you can't really relate to it. But somebody who's sick, a living human being who's sick and highly contagious and suffering a psychopathic compulsion to infect other human beings, that's scary.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big part of the sort of the scare value of the show.
And also with this world, I mean, it's not necessarily just science fiction. There's a lot of science fact that comes into play. You're kind of dealing with scenarios that could potentially happen down the road. So I'm guessing that adds to the even like the scary elements of it, that this is something that could happen.
I think it does. It really does, and it's always something in the, it's something in the modern day. What do you call it? Zeitgeist? Is that right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Zeitgeist?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know, the feeling that's around.
Yeah, there's that whole
feelings of what's in the air, sort of.
Yeah, that whole apocalyptic, end of the world.
Yeah, it's in the air. The notion of zeitgeist, the spirit of the time, the spirit characteristic of an age or generation. There we go.
Yeah.
It is the zeitgeist.
It is.
These days, to be worried about that kind of stuff, there are people, out there depending on us to be afraid.
Was there anyone in particular that you were excited to work with that you may not have had an opportunity to work with in the past? Or just because every time another casting note comes out about it, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So,
Hiroyuki Sanada, I was terribly excited. He's the only one I really knew of, and I've seen him in films and admired him, and so I was quite excited to work with him. And he plays such a good bad guy in films, and I was like, wow, what's he going to be like? And he is like the sweetest guy on earth. Like, I swear, if you could somehow objectively judge who are the sweetest people on earth, he might actually win the contest.
I have to agree with you.
Yeah, he's a really, really sweet man.
So gracious.
So yeah, I was super thrilled to work with him, and then super happy that he turned out to be how he is, and it was just it was terrific.
Okay. Well, just before we wrap, I thought I'd ask, what's the one reason you would say that everyone should be tuned in, glued to their TV sets when this series launches next month?
Oh, because it's a high test, supercharged sci-fi horror thrill ride, and you should tune in because you might miss the fun.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and best of luck with the rest of the series.
Thank you.